Have you ever wondered if women are easily deceived? I know I used to wonder that all the time, and I found some answers in John chapter 20. I started to think about Eve from Genesis. In Genesis 1 and 2, she really fumbled obedience, didn't she? She didn't do what she was supposed to. And I felt like there was a curse on women because of Eve, because she was easily deceived. But then I started to reconcile how Genesis, the book of Genesis, and the book of John are like parallel works. You remember how Genesis starts? It starts with in the beginning. You remember how John's gospel starts? It starts with in the beginning. Whereas Moses is talking about Genesis, the first beginning, John is talking about new beginnings. And he builds in his book towards John chapter 20 when we see Jesus risen from the dead. And what we see in Mary Magdalene's story is the first woman, the first person to see Jesus alive, is that her story is contrasted to Eve. So whereas in the Garden of Eden, Eve is there when the lights are turned on, Mary Magdalene is in the garden tomb, but it's still dark outside when she comes to the tomb. In Eve's story, she faces the tree of life. And when she goes there, there's fruit on it. And in Mary Magdalene's story, she's at the tomb of death. And when she goes to find Jesus, there is no body. And what we see in Eve's story, she initiates this curse of judgment upon all humanity. But what we see in Mary Magdalene's story is she brings the testimony of the best gospel news we've ever heard, that Jesus is alive. And what I recognize in Mary Magdalene is that all the curses that were on Eve, any feeling we have about women being easily deceived, is redeemed in Mary Magdalene's story. It all came together for me when I realized that Eve was deceived, but Mary Magdalene was commissioned. That Eve failed, but that Mary Magdalene obeyed. And so in Mary Magdalene's story, we find our purpose as women living into the greatest commandment. If there's anything you need to know about women being easily deceived, is that the curse of easily deceived died on the cross with Jesus. And we, like Mary Magdalene, have been commissioned by God to go and tell our brothers and sisters the good news of the gospel. And if this means something to you, if it resonates with you, I hope you read more about it in my first chapter in my book, No More Holding Back.